Hi, my name is Carol Ricard, and welcome to this episode of I Am Not Cancer. I am really super excited for you to be here with me tonight because I have a special guest who really is kind of taking time away from her evening to be here with me. And so I am going to introduce her right now, and that is Ingrid Dinter.
Hey, Carol.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. So let everybody know where it is you're kind of surfing in from tonight.
Yeah, I'm where I live is in New Hampshire. So we
Ah,
are slowly thawing up here.
so
Coming
so
out
you
of the
still have
freeze.
snow on the ground, Ingrid?
A little, just a little. Yeah, we had a lot of rain, but it's been snowing a lot this year. That's for sure. The accent is a German accent, so in case people wonder, I get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just thank you again for, taking the time to be here with us because the whole mission of the show is three parts. I mean, it's to inspire, it's to really inform people and empower people. And, what bit I know about you and just your kind of journey towards wellness really is, it's just been so fascinating and inspiring to me. And my hope is our conversation, it will just do the same for other people. So what I like to start off with is just having people share a little bit about, their life before, cancer really came and showed up in it. And so, share with us a little bit about you, the person.
Yeah, so me, the person, had cancer for the first time when I was 39. And just to give away my age, that was over 17 years ago. My daughter was 4. I'd found a little funny thing in my breast. I didn't think it was something important, so I took my daughter to go to the doctor with me. And I mean, I was taking care of her, so she always came with me to everything. And thank goodness, when they did the check, I had to come back. They said your daughter can't be here, and I had to come back. And thank goodness she wasn't there. That was a painful, very difficult moment. I remember trying to figure out a way to keep all this away from my family. But yeah, they told me back then it was stage 2. Yeah. Long story short, obviously, the lumpectomy, re-incision, you don't need to know all that. But
Yeah.
it was a big deal for me. And at the same time, one of the things that really kept me going was that at that moment, my friends really stepped up. We're German, so we'd been in the country for a few years. And my friends were kind enough to bring me meals. They basically said, you should not have to cook right now. And 4 times a week, I got a meal, which was unbelievable to me. Unbelievable. That's actually all I remember from this time. And I also think that I always thought that the cancer treatment back then, the chemo, the radiation, the hormone-therapy, the surgeries, I need 2 of them, they were my healing time. I felt like I have to put my foot down and just say, hey, I don't want this thing. I can't give it any power. I am not sitting here and saying I can't do things because, this thing's stopping me from something. But I mean, we all know that treatment's rough. So yeah, that's how that was. And then later, unfortunately, cancer came back. And that was after almost 10 years. And I didn't like that. Because we know that once it comes back, they tell you you're screwed, and they put a little palliative care thing and on the thing, and they tell you, don't worry about the word, you have years to go. And for me, it was that I realized I had to completely shift my mindset. I had to figure out if this had been cured before, because what I realized was, and then people may want to know, I'm a holistic healer. So you see my rifing apparatus over there. I do frequency healing with 15 generators. Yeah, you can see part of it there, and
Yeah.
there's more up there. The computer is
Yeah.
sharp, it looks nicer. I have my essential oils over here and up there.
You
You know,
you
uh,
have a workshop. I think of it as a healing workshop that
I,
you're in.
plenty. And this shelf over here, which I'm not going to show to you, but it's filled with supplements and things. And I actually do EFT, which means I'm an EFT master trainer. I do the tapping,
Yeah.
which actually, well, basically, scientifically, what it does is it downregulates your amygdala. It releases your stress hormones. It impacts 73 researchers. It impacts 73 hormones. Those that are related to stress get downregulated. Those that relate to immune system improvement and so forth, they get upregulated. So we have 175 published peer-reviewed research studies now by the effectiveness of EFT. So
You know what, Ingrid? I got to stop you a second because you've said a couple really important points, and I just want to make sure people don't lose them. The first one that I'm taking away from what you shared with us was your friends. And
Mhm.
obviously, you had to let them know what was going on because they weren't a mind reader. And I think I too believe that is so important in our healing, that you can't do it alone,
Mhm.
that you kind of got to rely. And
Well, and I think the most important thing is and that's what I tell everybody who comes to me, because eventually everybody tells you they have cancer, or somebody does, and they want to ask you. One of the hardest things is to accept help and to accept yes, you are that far in the ditch, or you will be that far in the ditch, or even if you're not in the ditch, you shouldn't be cooking. But to really say, I need this help right now. And when you're lucky enough, like I was the first time, people really step up.
yeah,
The second time, they didn't. We were in COVID, and everybody was busy. So they
yeah,
said, I'm so sorry to hear that, but there was nothing. And that was brutal.
yeah,
That really was, I mean, my friends, um, my holistic friends, my spiritual friends, they all stood up for me. I had more healing sessions than I should have even had time for, right?
yeah,
But that's just the meal at the doorstep, that didn't happen. And it's a very different experience, let's say, in that
yeah.
way.
It
That's my
is. It's
friends
like
stood by me, and they said, you know what, we need to clean you out. We need to take care of you emotionally. We need to take care of you vibrationally. I got help from China. I got help from India. I got help from the UK. I get help from New Hampshire and from California and from all over the place. Australia. I mean, every week we just had to figure out the timing. And when that happens, and you basically say yes to everybody who offers help, something does change. And I agree with you there. It's almost impossible to do this alone and still feel good in the process.
it's it's really you. I think what you just said is so important to also highlight, though, and that is to say yes to help, rather than sometimes people's first response is to say no.
Mhm.
Um, but I think the other thing I just want to point out that just struck me with what you were sharing was focusing, on healing and not wanting to give it any more power, right? And sort of not to fuel that. And I kind of say, I, we can go in one of two directions. We either every day, every moment, we make a choice, go towards wellness or we go towards illness. And we can't do both at the same time. And for you, it was really clear focusing on your wellness.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And excuse me, there was something that I had to do first. The very first step was, and we're talking now about the second time this happened, because, um, clearly when that happens, it's rough. And just to say this, so clearly they told me I'm always going to be on treatment, but it's been year 8 now. So
Yeah.
power to me. Hair is short. It was down to here. Hair is short. So I had was a pretty crappy time at times, but here we go. Um, and here's what I realized was that every diagnosis is only as good as the person who's treating it. And what that means to me is that when my doctor, for example, says this isn't curable, then what the doctor actually means is I can't cure it. Okay, the means that I use to treat cancer don't work, is basically what he said. You know, he said it works for a while, then it stops, you do something else, then it stops, and la la la, and goes back and forth. So when they say, you know, that this kind of cancer can't be cured, then that really just means, and I actually asked my doctor this, and I tested him too, because I need to know, is he on my side or not? And actually, it means that I asked him, is it incurable, or do you not know how to cure it? Right? Which is two completely separate things. Completely, like, you know, it's like asking a baker if he can make, you know, cook a meal. You know, if he says, I don't know, with flour, probably not. And you say, well, you know,
Wait,
which one is it?
Ingrid, you, I want to stop this second. You kind of asked your doctor. I guess I'm just struck by how many people could be watching this show and thinking, "Oh my God, how could she ask the doctor? How could she question the doctor?"
Oh,
And
that's easy. The
I just
answer
want
is
to
very
reinforce we need to do that.
the answer is very easy, because if my doctor doesn't give me the right answer, I will fire my doctor. It's just like that. It's an interview,
Yeah,
right? I need to know, when I do my things, will my doctor tell me yes, or will my doctor tell me no? And the reason I need to know that is because my doctor is not, and this is something, again, for people listening who say, well, my doctor didn't recommend that. My doctor is not trained. My doctor is Harvard educated. Okay. We're talking the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston. We're talking a top clinic in the world. Okay. And my doctor he's one of the top-notch doctors. And they all know that their patients do things outside of treatment, outside of traditional treatment, right? So they are not educated. They don't have any business telling me if something works or doesn't work, because they're not trained.
yeah.
Okay, so it's literally, well, and when we ask a doctor should I use essential oils, the doctor draws a blank. And the problem is when a doctor, and this is so important for people to know this, a doctor is legally only allowed to subscribe FDA approved drugs.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that's the only thing that works, but
Yep.
it is legally the only thing a doctor can give you. If a doctor said try essential oils, this would legally be a subscription of a non-admitted drug, whatever the word is.
Like a non approved sort
Your
of.
doctor could lose his license because of
Yeah,
that. Okay,
yeah,
the doctor is not allowed to do that. That's number one. So do not ask the doctor. Okay. The things that I learned to ask is, well, if this was for your mom, would you think she'd be in trouble? You know, it can help me that, right? And he did. Again, I handpicked this doctor. I was very fortunate to have him, and the nurses too. And I also have a very good relationship with them, because I tell them what I do, and you know, they want you to be well. You have to also remember, some doctors want you to do well, and some doctors want to be right.
ah,
Okay. If you have a doctor that already tells you what's going to happen to you in the future, fire them. Fire them. Right? Out with you. You
yes,
don't know me. Right? Now, the data shows 30 to 50%. Some people say up to 70% of people heal with a placebo.
yeah,
Now, I want to know how they do that. Because if I can heal by taking nothing, right, then I want to learn what to do so I can do that and then double up my chances. And this is actually something I told my doctor, the other doctor, in the beginning. I said, well, I have a risk, and you have to also always remember, I have a risk of 30% of recurrence. And I said, and a placebo is 30%. So if I do what you do, and then we do whatever the placebo does, we double up my chances, right? And I said, do we have any research what gets the placebo to work like a drug? And the answer was no. And then I thought, okay, I'm either asking the wrong person, or we really don't know. And I just have to, you know, start taking my guesses. And here's what I did. So I actually went out and I had to reprogram my thinking because the doctor had just told me there's nothing we can do. And I realized that doesn't mean there wasn't nothing to treat. There was plenty of stuff to treat. He said, you have years, we help you, and there's all sorts of things you can do, and hormone therapy and chemotherapy and whatever, immunotherapy. There's so many things. And I took them. I'm not against that. Okay. I'm on a treatment right now. I will not turn somebody down who's an expert. There's a couple of things to that. But and then I'm going to say later, but the very first thing I had to find out is, has this been done before? Okay. It's like, I can't find a study that shows that people can breathe underwater for extended long amounts of time, because we're not designed to do that. But if somebody had actually cured cancer, okay, that means it's possible. And then I have to find out what they do. And then the thing that I realized was that when I started to research these things, very often, all the studies quoted each other. All the articles said, well, we don't know, there's this thing, blah, 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 blah. And then they usually stopped at, we can't recommend it, there's just not enough data. And I thought, well, if they all say it works, maybe you want to get on that, right? I mean, that's just not an excuse to say we don't have enough data. It's an excuse not to prescribe, because this is a legal contract. You can't just prescribe something without the data. That doesn't mean it doesn't work. Right? So I was thinking, well, if these guys are not bringing by the data, what's the reason? And I realized that my cancer drug costs $15,000 a month. That's a good reason not to research things that costs, I don't know, $45 and last for 4 months, right? Or, like my rifing machine, my Spooky Doo machine over there, it's $300 a generator. I mean, you can buy your entire equipment for that. So why would they research it? There's no reason, there's no incentive. Now, a doctor will not be is not the expert to ask these questions. That's one thing. And then the other thing is this. You also got to ask yourself, is it, when it comes to self-care, I always think, and I think you and I are very much alike in this, I always think there's cancer killing and there's body healing, right? And they usually go against each other. And I actually told my doctor that, I said, most people that I know that died from cancer died from liver failure, not breast cancer, right? So what do I do with my liver? Because if my liver wants to let me down, how do I protect it? How do I get it out of my liver? How long do the drugs have to stay in my system before I cleanse them out? Which kinds of cleansers would you recommend? What other organs can be impacted, and how do I protect them? I have the questions because I don't want to die from liver failure. And the answer was, I don't know. And I said, well, what do I eat, right? I mean, tell me the things. And he said, well, a well-balanced diet. And I thought, here's the problem with that. I do agree with you, but I ate a well-balanced diet before I got sick. So it's not enough. And at that moment, you get freedom. Because now my power, I don't know if my power is to heal, to kill the cancer. I mean, obviously I am, because I can tell you my results and they're just fantastic, right? My doctor for the first time in 8 years said he doesn't want to see me next month. So I just take my shots and I leave. What I do is unheard of. But help me out. I was going to say something. What I did think is that I definitely have the tools to heal my body. I have those. Everybody does, right? And so the more I work on healing and use my holistic tools for healing, the safer I can feel to use chemo or whatever the heck has been proven to work, because it doesn't do all the bad things in the way they're supposed to do all the bad things. Yeah. I went back to my doctor and said, so how's your diarrhea? How's this and that? And I was just sitting there thinking, oh, it's supposed to have diarrhea. And he looked at me like, you don't have diarrhea. And I said, no.
It's, you know what?
Said, oh, the mouth sores. I said, how do they feel?
Yeah, it's, you know what? My sister had a doctor who couldn't believe that she was taking her chemo, because she was taking an oral chemo, and because she wasn't having any of the side effects. And my sister very much was an influence in my life, where it was, how do we use the best of nature to kind of heal our body and just create this optimal healing power inside of the
Yeah,
best of everything, right? And you were just
absolutely. And
describing it to a T.
absolutely, Karen. And one thing that also realized, and I think that's also important to remember, um, when you enter a field where you really start researching, it's a lot, but it's fun, because everything you learn can save your life, and that's what we want. Um, but I also realized, for example, people in my field say don't eat sugar. And I know the data shows don't eat sugar, but here was the point. My tumor markers were going down and I was eating chocolate. So I just thought, let's not do everything that comes to mind. Let's focus on the things I need to do. I do rifing, like 5 hours a day, biofeedback almost every day on different parts of my body, my gut, my chest. But I do all these things. I sleep in a scalar field. I use miles. I use my supplements. I do enormous amounts of mental emotional healing. Um, I want to eat my chocolate sometimes, right? I don't drink wine. I had one glass of wine this weekend after like 6 months of nothing. And usually for years I just don't drink. There's no reason to put alcohol in my liver. It's already working hard, and I do coffee enemas and I do all the things to cleanse. But um, yeah, there's also a time at which we have to understand that everybody's a little different. And trust that we're getting the hints. If something makes you feel good, it's probably good for you, right? So
You're so right though, and it really, I just am reminded. I'm just there's something you said earlier that is just stuck in my brain though, and you said the first thing you had to do was change your thinking,
yeah,
and that to me, I think is such a pivotal thing for people to hear and also to realize that they have to do.
yeah,
Could you talk just a little bit more about that and how you sort of did that?
yeah. I researched. A few things that I did was I did whatever I could do on a natural basis to just calm down my nerves that I felt I can be in control again. So I used Bach flowers for that. Other people use other things, but I knew I needed to focus. And then I literally went online and I Googled surviving breast cancer. And there you find your resources and you find more and you find more. And here's why, because you have to break the rules.
Yeah.
Okay. There is a rule in the world of oncology that certain things are impossible. And they're based on data that is created with the means that oncology provides. Okay, and bless their hearts. I have nothing bad to say. My doctors are incredible, and I love them to death, and I love seeing them every month, even though I don't want to be there every month. But you have to break the rules. The rule only applies if you only do what they tell you to do, right? If they tell you to run 500 miles with heels, right, and then they tell you it's impossible to run 500 miles, or let's make that 50. Right? When they say the running shoes are heels and 50 miles, it's impossible for anybody to run 50 miles. And the problem is the shoes, right? Then you may as well just see, well, has anybody ever run 50 miles and what kind of shoes were they wearing? Because these ones hurt. And that's how we need to think.
Yeah.
We need to question everything that keeps us stuck. And and that's where. So let me just tell you for a minute how this worked out for me, because chemo was brutal. I had 3 different chemos in 1 year. I was on oral chemos, different ones. Skin fell off my feet, skin fell off my hands, neuropathy on a good day, like walking over glass, and a bad day walking over pins. It was awful. And my doctor asked me, is there a time when you would stop? Because I asked, this is my life, right? When you're so in the dump, I did not look like this. I tell you what, I can cry just seeing the pictures. And he said, just out of curiosity, is there a time when you would stop? Which is kind of a sentence. And I said, well, I would stop if I find something that works, even though you tell me it doesn't. And he just smiled and grinned. And here's what happened. Eventually the chemo stopped working again. And they told me, with all the treatment over 8 years, it's going to be 7 at the time. It's going to be slower and shorter amounts of time it works. And, all that. And he said, and I said, no more chemo for me. I just knew my body said no. And so he gave me a little break. He said, I can give you a break with hormone therapy. We haven't done it for a while. And here's how that works. But I need you to know that this will not kick in before 6 weeks and 2 booster shots. Okay, that's how that works. And then you take a pill, and then that's how it comes together. And I went home and immediately started cleansing, started biofeedback, the right thing, frequency therapy, essential oils I packed on. I did whatever I could do. And I came back 2 weeks later and my tumor markers had dropped before my first booster. Sure, it wasn't the stuff. I came back 2 weeks later, my tumor markers had dropped. It wasn't even supposed to work yet. Right? And ever since, my tumor markers went from 20 to 80 down, all the way down to 250.
Yeah.
And then, so that's medically impossible. Now they say it's the drugs, but we know it started working before. That's what makes it so powerful. I keep doing what I'm doing every single day. There's not a day when I don't fight, every day. I have my units all set up in my desk so I can work while I do other things. You got to find ways to make it work. But the thing that happened was that, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. But I got to tell you, I mean, it's going to blow you away, but we just have 2 more minutes. I mean, the time, doesn't it just fly by? Like, I'm just always amazed.
It's fun stuff.
I'm going to tell you have just, it's just, I love listening to you. I love how you've done kind of this, opened up people's, minds to just not just thinking in this sort of tunnel vision about their cancer and their treatment and their doctors. And we're kind of kindred spirits in that, you know what, it's whatever's going to work and can help me get better. I said, the more tools I got, the better. The more likely I am going to get the job done. And one other thing you've said is that you've made it be your priority, that healing is the priority for you. And the other thing I'm taking away from this is that you need to educate yourself. And that is such another really critical nugget that you kind of shared with us here today. What I want to ask you in, just 60 seconds, is there anything you want to say to people, that just any words of encouragement that we could depart with them?
Yeah. And that is, before you start anything else, be clear, you got to find a way, which is your way. But you need to know why you want to live. A lot of people, they just don't want to die, but they don't want to live. They start to argue and say, well, I actually do want to live, but my marriage isn't this and this isn't the other. And then maybe I'm fat or I'm skinny, or they have a gazillion reasons why they don't like the life. And if you want to survive cancer, you have to like the life you have, no matter how good or crappy it is, because that's the one you got. And you can't change that just by surviving cancer. It will not be automatic. You will get these things out of the way as you start to improve your entire life. But you have to make a decision to live, just because.
You know what? Those are the most perfect words to end this show on. I just want to thank you so much again for being here, and just encourage people to come back. Where can people, if they want to find out more about you, where can they find out more about you?
My website is ingriddinter.com. That's my name.
Okay.
Just Google it, go to contact, and shoot me an email.
Well, that is great. Well, thank you so much. And thanks everybody for watching.